Jan Bratt, and I'm out in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. The ocean, it just is on all sides of us for miles and miles and miles. As a matter of fact, our captain has just told us that the ocean, the floor beneath us is 400 feet. We're right at the continental shelf, and momentarily it will start sloping off and get into the deep trenches and deep depths of the ocean off England and Ireland. It will go down as far as 5,000 feet. And this is where this fish lives. It's a viper fish. And as everyone knows that the fish on the surface are quite well known. We have sharks and dolphin fish, mahi-mahi often called, mackerel and cod near where I live. But down in the deep depths, it's pure black down there. And this is where the kind of fish like the viper fish, the lanternfish, the ocean anglerfish live. And the extraordinary thing about them is that they have little lights that they emit from their bodies, and they call that bioluminescence. And they actually make light from their own bodies. So I would like to show you how to make the viper fish. And what you'll need is some black tissue paper, Scotch tape, which I think everybody has, and some white chalk to make the details. I'm going to show you how to draw him, and scissors to cut him out, and some white glue, because as you can see he's puffy. We're going to stuff him with tissue paper to make him look more like a puppet, and then a long thin dowel like this where we can make him swim by bobbing him up and down and kind of pretend that he's in currents of the ocean. So I think we'll go inside to my cabin now, and I'll show you how you can craft this viper fish. Okay, now here comes Victor. He's inside now, and I'd love to show you how to make Victor with all your craft supplies that I'll tell you about what to pick up next. You will need a long dowel. If you don't want to go get a long dowel, you can just get a stick from the yard. It's got to be a thin one. It has to be strong enough to support a little flashlight like this, which we'll put inside the viper fish if you would like him to have bioluminescence. It's just got 2 little batteries, and it's very light. And then I've got some punches. I've got 2 different size punches. That's because I want to get fancy, but you really just need one. A pair of long scissors, which will be helpful for cutting that thin tissue, and some white glue, and then some dental floss that I'll use to hang the viper fish on its pole. Because the thing about the pole, which is so fun, is then you can make it almost look like it's swimming by making little vibrations and big movements as if he's going up and down with the currents in the water. And once the lights are out, then you can just see that light, that white, bluish white light coming from the little holes that we punch in his skin. And you can see he's stuffed, and I'll show you how to do that too. But first we'll begin by drawing the viper fish, and then we will use the table and cut him out, and I'll show you how to give him that fullness, because we'll stuff him. So here is my tissue, and I've got 2 sheets here, because when we cut him out we want to have both sides of him. So I have 2 sheets, 2 very thin sheets of just plain black tissue paper, and I've got my chalk. I have a white one, and I have one that's kind of a greenish blue, which I might use. Yeah, I think I will use that to give him some depth. As I start drawing, I'll explain to you how that's done. When you're looking at your paper, I have mine held vertically, because the way that this fish moves about is he kind of hangs and moves forward with his fins, but he has that curved shape coming down this way, so I thought it would be best to show the paper in an up and down mode. And I'm going to start his head up here, and then he'll come down and his body angles down, and then there's room for his tail right there. I want to use as much of this paper as I can because I'm going to be gluing him together. I want to make him fairly large. In real life, this fish is about 6 inches long. Well, I'm going to start up here. So you've got the upper part of your paper and one side of it. And I'm going to start using, a little bit towards the center, a pizza pie shape. So everybody's had pizza pie, right? So that's an easy shape to start with. And that's going to form part of the viperfish's head. Next, I'm going to make a half moon shape. And this will be the top of the moon, and it will come down, curving, 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 but I will not go down to the bottom of the page because I want to save room for his tail. This is where his little throat is, and so I'm moving these lines closer and closer and closer and closer till they come. He's very skinny before his tail starts. And then another triangle shape for his tail. And before I put that third side on the triangle, I'm going to make that one a little bit lighter because he actually has a forked tail. And so I'm going to come down about an inch on my paper and go right out to the sides, and that makes a perfect forked tail. And because this is chalk, I can erase it. So that's the way his tail looks. Now for the fun part, his little face. I go out to the top of the pizza now, and I'm just continuing it out a little bit, and then this line that makes up the bottom part of his shape will come out, and you'll see his huge jaw. And I didn't describe what kind of shape that is because I can't figure out what that is. It looks a little bit like a piece of something. But this is what his jaw looks like. And then there's a little, you can just move that in, that corner, and round off that corner because that's part of his mouth. And should we put his eye in next? We've got to give him a little personality here. Come down about maybe a third of the way down the pizza slice. And no, it's not a piece of pepperoni, it's his eye. And it's quite large because he's down in the dark depths of the ocean. Do you know, light does not reach down there at all. There's nothing, it's black, pure black. You could be down 3 miles in the ocean seeing this fish. And actually people can't go down there unless they're in a submersible, which is a little tiny submarine, or sometimes they have diving bells that you can go in. It's like a little room that's pressurized, and people can go down there and then they can look through a porthole or have a camera look out for them. It's built into the wall and see the sea life that's down there. And they can find these animals with sonar, which is, you'll hear a little beep, beep, and a sound goes out and bounces back against any kind of creature that they can see. And there's so many of these fish that are down there that sometimes people think it's a false bottom of the ocean. It's really not. It's really there's just a whole school of these fish, especially the lanternfish, which is similar in that it uses the biophosphorescence to light itself up, and can be there's I think 200 different varieties or kinds of this lanternfish, but the viperfish does have the longer teeth. And he's got, so I'm going to do put the pupil in. He has that big eye to spot any kind of light from other creatures down in the great depths of the ocean. And now for the fun part, which is his teeth. And all of you who like to make things perfectly and evenly, this is not your kind of fish because he has very snaggletooth teeth. They kind of go at different angles, and some are shorter and some are longer. And it really gives a pretty amazing appearance when you see a photograph of it. You can imagine, I have not seen this fish in real life. And so on the bottom jaw, don't try to get them exactly even because they kind of go at different angles and at different heights. And I'm just going to color those in a little bit with my white because I think this is going to help us get a good picture of this fish when it's cut out by coloring these white, because that'll really show up. And on the top of the fish, the dorsal side, he has a very thin fin that comes all the way down. And on ventral side, he also has the same thin fin. Now, this is just so thin you can see through it. And then about here, he has a big fin that comes up, and it's very jagged, and this is very transparent too. So I'll make a few little lines showing the texture of that fin. And then he has another one, I'd say about right there, that comes down, and this is how he'll maneuver. I have no idea how fast these fish go. I kind of picture him as a little bit hanging in the deep depths and then moving towards his prey. He actually has a, coming out of the top of his head, he has a modified fin that comes up with a very flexible piece of tissue there, and then there's a light on the end of that, but we're not going to put that on the viper fish that we make, but I just wanted you to see that's how he catches his prey, as he dangles this off in front of his face, and then as the little fish comes up to eat it, then that's when his giant jaws close on the prey. I'm going to make the beautiful scales of this fish, and I'm not going to make the stripes going straight across because I want to show that he's curved a little bit. So as I go down, but he's not a very fat fish either. So he's going to have little, these are not stripes, they're actually markers, so I want to show you where his scales are going to be. So there they go down, 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 smaller, 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 and I forgot to make the little veins in his tail, so I'll add those in now. He also has, let's see, how much room do I have? A fin here, and these are very flexible. So if you don't get the angle right, it's possible that that's the way that fin looked at that particular time as he propels himself through the ocean, the salty, great salty ocean. And then I'm making little shapes. It would almost be like a little squished, a little football. Little footballs going down the middle of his body, and this is his scales. It's just the way his skin is divided up. He being a fish and everything. And then there's smaller ones in between. So I'm going to add those. And this is the kind of thing I love to do in my artwork. It's just all the little details that make it come alive. And you can see the beauty of these animals, whether it's the spots on a giraffe in the plains of Africa or the scales of a fish in the deep ocean. It's just amazing, the beauty of these creatures, the beautiful patterns and the textures. It's like, even with our great imaginations, it's hard to imagine all the different varieties. Now I could go back and just erase some of the lines in here to make those scales look a little bit more realistic, because I was using those lines as a guide, and now I don't need them anymore. And let's see, I have my blue. It's kind of a turquoisey blue, and I was just going to use it a little bit to show just some color on him. It's kind of a silvery color in real life, I think. This is what I'm seeing when I look at the photographs. But I just thought it might be fun to do. And if you only have white chalk, that's probably even closer to what it really looks like. But I can't help myself. I have to dress them up a little bit. And you know, if you've ever seen the stars on when there's a no moon, and you see the beautiful stars that have that whitish blue light, that's kind of the light I think of when you think of this particular viperfish. There are some deep sea animals that emit kind of a reddish glow, and some emit more of a yellowish glow, but this one has that cold blue-white light that has a real beauty to it. Just like if you've ever seen a falling star, sometimes they'll have a little trail of this green, and that's another color that you can see. And I'm making a few little textural lines going down, because this modified fin that follows the length of his body. And that will be transparent and will be going back and forth as though the currents flow by him, or as he moves. So I think he's done, and I will take my picture off the easel here and bring it to the table, because I want to show you how to create the fish that's cut out and then stuffed with tissue.